So, can you diagnose this computer? That's pretty broken. Probably headphones closed into the screen. So I actually do have a headset on, so hopefully audio is a little bit better than usual. At least I can talk with music playing and this going on. And of course, I lost my favorite tool. Of course I did. Okay, found my favorite tool. They actually sell this in the internal Apple store. Has like a different name or something. They don't sell this one. They sell something else. Alright. So I actually started doing this repair back when these first came out. 2010-ish or so. Kind of want to say I was one of the first ones to do it. Who knows. This is one of the first videos online. At that time I never saw any. Years and years ago. As far as doing this repair, it really is trial and error. I don't know, this little edge is bugging me here. So there's no set time. I don't have a temperature gauge on there. It's what it is, or at least a digital temperature gauge. It really comes down to just feel and just kind of knowing how long to put it into place. So I don't want to stay in one area. I'm kind of preheating the rest of it, and then I kind of narrow it down into a little section. I'm going to choose the left-hand side. And I think Facebook flips it, so maybe the right-hand side. So again, just feeling how soft it is, which is not very soft. Definitely this repair is having the right tools. Plenty of other people go in on this edge and then try to pry up, which basically bends this aluminum bezel. And this aluminum bezel, if I go up on it or something, it will distort it. And when you put it back on there, it will look like crap. Sometimes this adhesive is easier than others, depending on the day and depending on the temperature. And I'm sure while I'm doing this with an audience of, what, one person? Probably make a mistake and maybe not post the video? I don't know. I shouldn't jinx myself. Alright, so it's in there, and what's really annoying is I can get past that little edge and go past that black mark. Imagine this underneath. So I can be pushing in there and slam past that black line there. And, well, it's rubber, and it just disintegrates and either tears it apart or gets pushed out, and I have to, it's so crimped in there that it gets bent and melted. So yeah, I have to try not to do that. And then actually sometimes I do go past that little line and have to push it back in there and hope that it didn't get melted too much. There is actually faster ways to do this repair. People go on this edge and just force their way through this adhesive. And it works. People do it all the time, and they have, good repairs that look good. I tend to like to take my time. Going too fast makes mistakes, and some of those mistakes is ruining that black bezel. That black rubber gasket is kind of what it is. Oh, if anybody noticed that there, I did go past that lineup, and I was saved myself, pushed it back in there. I'm gonna turn down this audio because Facebook likes to ding me for playing other people's music. Usually stuff with lyrics. Alright, so I am actually, well, not doing it perfectly. I was trying to basically not hold this on top of the camera, the webcam there. I am trying to stop by going over it and heating it too much. You can basically bake the webcam, and it's a circuit that you break in there, or possibly a wire. Break something in there, and do the whole repair, and then find out webcam doesn't work. I think I've done it maybe twice. One time was pretty disastrous. I just melted it, and yeah, it was pretty horrible. Ended up replacing it, which was not too difficult. Just put another one in there. When actually I slide to the other side, there'll be a cable that can be sliced also. And you'll see it when everything gets up. Alright, just taking my time. Not trying to go too fast on this, but and this is actually the first time that I've done it on this white table here. I'm not going to feel horrible if I actually ruin this table, but I will be have to replace the table if I warp it, because this is kind of my work area in front of this computer here. And of course this tool on 11 inch, I don't even have enough room to try to slide that tool in there, which I forgot and should have gotten a shorter one. 11 inches are just tiny. They're too tiny. I don't know who buys these things. 11 inches is just too small. You can't see anything. You just can't do anything on them. Forgot what the resolution is. Alright, so one other thing to be careful of. So I ended up going all the way there, and if you notice I moved really quickly, and I stopped myself. I think just in time. I try not to slide over that. I think I already did, so I'm going to go forward with it. But right past there, there's a chip that basically if you go flat enough, you'll go right over it, but somehow you tend to just dig in a little bit further that direction and actually just rip off that chip. And well, two of them. One's a light sensor, the other one is a QFN package that does something, I don't know. Both things will basically break the webcam and you'll have to replace it. So another thing that possibly can go wrong. There's a lot of things that can possibly go wrong with this repair. The price of this repair has stayed pretty steady. It's $250 to do this repair. The 13 inches, no, those have gone crazy. Up and down on prices. The LCD has gone up and down in prices. Anywhere from about $150. Actually, I got it way less than that. I think I forgot the prices of them. I want to say like $130. Now they're at, well, they're past $180. They're $200 something, I think now. I want to say the 13 inches, they stopped making them, maybe, possibly, probably. It's one reason price would just skyrocket. It's changed prices in the last couple months, which is unusual. Alright, so I'm actually going to be being a little slow with this, trying to be extra careful. Probably because I'm talking to somebody, and who's calling me? Don't you know I'm live? I can't talk to you. Alright. Just come out. Come out. Alright, I don't know if anybody's noticed. I stuck it past there. I never do this. You can make mistakes. Right now it's actually crimped. This black thing is it's cool now, so it's not melting anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and reverse a little bit there. If you can see, that black is missing a little bit on the top. it shouldn't be that way. And if it stays that way, I basically it'll melt it. Guaranteed, I will melt it, and it'll be warped, and it will look like crap. Oh, now it's actually stuck under there. Come out. Come on. Okay, I probably already melted it, and it's stuck that way permanently. Okay. So it's back to being a straight line there. If it would stayed crimped under there, yeah, would have looked like crap. Alright, more heat. Always need more heat. Actually, never need more heat, just the right amount of heat. One major reason I like this little tool is it's thin and gets in the corners quite effectively. I don't know if anybody... Right there. Yeah, that's not supposed to do that. If anybody wants to comment on this, I am watching the comments to see if anybody says anything. Can answer a lot of different questions while I work. Sort of. So one other thing to actually look for when you're actually doing this, I noticed the rubber, and I've noticed it plenty of other times while doing this repair, gets shiny. When it gets shiny, stop giving it heat. When it gets shiny, it's so hot that if you touch it with any metallic object, kind of like this metallic object, it will warp, and it will look like crap. And the repair will not come out. Also, so using a lot of metal tools, right now, I'm actually going to touch it really quick, see how hot it is, and then go in on this tool. If this was too hot, and I did this motion right here, again, I would warp that rubber, and it would look like crap. But I did touch it, and felt that it wasn't too hot, and that I could go in with this metal tool and do this without it looking like crap. And then even then, sometimes I make mistakes and go in too quick with this metallic tool, and I do actually warp the rubber just slightly. And doesn't look like crap, but you can see it. I can see it. I can see that I waited too short of a time to go in with this metallic tool. Usually customer never can see it, but I see it. Alright. Spending way too much time with this bezel, but I don't know. I'm pretty patient if you guys are a little bit patient. Alright, one other thing also. This heat and these keys, these keys, I mean, if I go down in this motion and still too long, bounces off this bezel, goes up and melts these keys. If I decide to turn this up just a little bit and actually point it right at a key, that key is done for. It's melted. It's just seconds. So with this motion, I am making sure that I'm going down, and especially not being too long to have it bounce up and hit these keys for too long. So definitely just a kind of experience and knowing how long. And also on the bottom there's less adhesive, so it's actually pretty easy just to slide in there. And actually you can almost deliver no heat really, and just slide all the way across. Alright, so that took way too long. And of course I warped just a little bit. So this does actually matter. That you can't really see it in that camera. There's one way to see that it's warped. It's basically not flat. So I try to actually get it as flat as possible. But at least this right here is a smooth curve. And little bending. I'll get it back in there. If it's really, really bent, and you try to actually do a right angle turn, you'll see it. This will crease, and it will look horrible. Now, actually, for this one, I'm not going to waste my time with that right now because I have an extra one right here that's already got adhesive. Alright, so there's the webcam and there's some of the chips I was talking about. Here's a cable that's right there and then goes up. This cable sometimes actually sticks up, and when you're slicing that way, you can either slice it in half or just slice a portion of it enough to actually uncover the bare wires and either damage it or actually not damage it and just have bare wires, and you can tape it up and kind of push it back in there. But another thing that can go wrong in this repair. Alright, so definitely a point of no return. I'm actually going to slice a portion of this off so I can unplug the cables easier. Right there. Sliced off. So some people actually come in here with a screen that's kind of partially working and they can see their files, they know it's broken, they want the repair. And, well, if they decide to say, oh, never mind, I don't want the repairs, can I have my computer back? Well, yes, there's your point of no return. Here's your computer back and your screen doesn't work anymore. But this one's pretty cracked, you can't see anything, so I don't think they would care. Here's the two connectors that are underneath here. So there's this black portion. There is the LVDS connector right here, and the backlight connector right here, underneath, of course. You can't see it. So I'm going to bend up right here and try to disconnect the LVDS connector. Razor, little clip. I don't know if you can see that it went down. I'm going to try to pull this board forward to disconnect it. And there, it's disconnected. And for the backlight cable, right there, I don't bother trying to disconnect it from this side. I'm actually going to push it back in there, flip it over, and then flip that whole board over and disconnect it from the other side. A lot easier to go with the direction of the cables and not try to bend them too much. Okay, so here's a huge moment where sometimes the computer's actually on. Having a metal object right next to the backlight. Kind of pause for a second. I use metal tools all the time, typically when the power's off. This, I don't have the battery out. The screen's disconnected. Pretty quiet computer with the fan. It actually could be on at this moment. I could accidentally press the power button and the computer could be on. It could be delivering power to this backlight and I would have no idea. So one way to know that the computer's off Gotta hold this power button. Sometimes you can actually hear the chime and it turn on, but alright. And when okay, so it's on at this moment. Let me force it off. Okay, it should be off. I can basically stick my ear to the bottom, maybe hear the fan, but now that I'm all paranoid that it potentially could be on, I'm not going to stick a metal tool next to the backlight and use a sponger or some other non-metallic tool, because now I'm all paranoid that it's on. I didn't actually turn it off. Alright. These are actually pretty nifty tools there. I don't know if anybody can see. There's a spike coming out of the side. So if I push it together, it actually punctures me. It's basically so I don't actually hold whatever up here tightly, or too tightly. But it's still weird, because it still punctures me. Alright, trying to get these little stickers that are on the screws off. Alright. Actually just read a couple comments on there. My profile picture is the robot. It is actually the robot of MacKeeper. The one that kills Macs. Yes, it doesn't kill Macs. You haven't seen my other video then, where in complete video of me installing MacKeeper and proving that it doesn't kill Macs, nor did it give me any spam at all. All those people that get spam are getting the malware from MacKeeper that has an extra Trojan along with it. Watch my other videos. I prove that it's not malware. Not good software, but not malware. Alright, so this LCD finally needs to come out. Okay, one other check. So this bezel, it's stuck in there by other adhesive. I never bring it out. If for some reason it's sticking up and pulled out, and you start heating this, it will warp. Right now it's stuck in a little tiny groove, and if I heat it up, it will stay put, basically. Unless I heat it up too much and I touch it with my finger, I can, of course, warp it. So again, another balancing act of applying just the right amount of heat. But definitely if it's stuck up, and pushed out of the way, it warps. Alright, more heat. So this left side, right side, left side, whatever perspective you want to call it, this side is super easy to come up. And again, I'm pretty slow, and I've seen people just slide something under there and this side just comes right up, and it works. Because it's pretty low adhesive. I know if I forced it that way, it might come up or it might crack, and cracking it's really annoying. I tried to get it up in one piece. Cracking it basically means I can actually get cracks on the other side. And so this tool right here, I'm trying to not go too far in. There is a, not digitizer, a reflector, plastic reflector underneath. Both reflector and polarizer. That was the word I was looking for. Polarizer under there that spreads out the light for the backlight. So you don't see the lights, because the LEDs in this actually are just on the bottom. 50, I think, LEDs, probably more. Just little light bulbs that shine up, and there's no LEDs up here, and so that plastic layer makes a uniform lighting, so you see just light and not light bulbs. This top layer is actually, well, for me, most of the annoying parts, because it actually separates, it delaminates into two little layers of glass, and leaves a layer of glass in there that I have to pick out later on. Oh, and again, I was trying to not put too much heat right here, webcam. Grounding strap? No, I do not have a grounding strap. This is not sensitive electronics at all, really. But, yes, I am actually one of the people that don't use grounding straps anyways. Because, touch metal. That's me grounding. Alright, so here's another thing that's extremely difficult. So I'm actually going to raise this up from this side, and with this heat, I only have one last side, so this is open, this is open, this is the final side. This bottom portion does not have any adhesive. It has a metal bar that you'll see in a second. But now that I'm actually raising up and there's room for this heat to go down here, if I decide to do this, and some reason come over here and go underneath, that backlight basically warps, and when you turn the light bulb on again, you'll see the warped plastic, and it looks horrible. So, I'm trying not to raise this too much, and so when I apply heat, I'm going to be applying heat, and try and apply heat right back and forth, right here, and not around at all. Alright. Alright, so that last motion, when I pull up, sometimes it takes that black adhesive with it. Sometimes I have to just peel that all the way off and put down another layer. This one actually came out perfectly. So it's cracked, but it came out in one piece. It's after hours, don't you know? It's 7:30 here. Alright, so I'm actually going to reuse this metal right here. It's actually extremely important to reuse this metal here. Alright, we're all done with this. Trash can. Or recycle bin, if you recycle. It's glass. Metal. I actually reuse that layer sometimes. I'm too lazy to take off all the adhesive. But one thing I do check for when removing this adhesive, so this right there, while it's folded over, it's a millimeter, half a millimeter of space, because when you fold something over, it's doubling its layer. I'm going to break that off a little bit and try to flatten those areas out. It really doesn't matter usually, but I know if you fold something over, it's not as flat as it could have been, and I do want this area flat, so when I put it down, it's not pushed up just slightly because of that area. Alright, looking for my black adhesive, which I can't find. Alright, here it is. Alright, as you can imagine, I'm trying to reuse this. Here's my new LCD. Of course, sticking this down, I want to make sure it's on the right side. And I think I have one time put it on the wrong side, and of course this adhesive is near impossible to peel back off, at least without breaking something, especially a slim piece of glass. But so here's how it lays down flat. This is the front side, and this is folded over. So that metal, I want to go on the back. So fold it over. This is the front side. I flip it over so I can put this in there. Alright, and centering this, another thing that if you don't center it perfectly, and then you lay this glass back down, it's not centered, and you got the screen that's cocked up to the corner there. Looks horrible. Just kind of got edges there, and it's really just a trick with my thumbs and getting it centered and on there. I do line up. Nobody saw that, right? Obviously I put it on there pretty delicately, enough for it to be able to fall off just like that, because I want to actually look at it and line it up before I actually place it down really hard. Okay, eyeballing it. Alright, and now pushing it down so it stays. So I do line up the metal with the glass to actually make it perfect. If you want to be anal about things, this metal actually is supposed to be just a millimeter, 2 millimeters above that glass, but lining it up like that is kind of a waste of time, and your display will just be slightly more centered. You can still see the whole screen without doing that anyways. Alright, and if you're wondering, I'm putting my fingers all over this glass. It's got stickers. It's got screen protectors on this side and the other side. And you can imagine if you're putting it in there and you don't take off the inside plastic, looks kind of weird, and there's a... Yeah, I've seen those repairs. Nice new glass, and then you see a logo of the screen protector on the inside, completely sealed up. Looks pretty funny. Alright, so I have this over here. It's been open, in the open air. I am not in a clean room. A large amount of dust could have gotten on there. When I do these repairs, I try not to even take that long between putting the glass on here and having it open. I try to do that couple things really, really quick so I don't have dust here. I eyeball it really. Doesn't look like there's any major specks. But if you do have a large speck on there, compressed air. I'm not going to spray this because I don't see a single thing on there, and I don't want to kick up dust and maybe put something on there. It actually looks really good. Alright, let's get this on there and sealed up. Another thing, if this digitizer is misaligned, if it's hanging over, you want to correct it right this moment and position it. Sometimes for whatever reason it gets pushed over and then it gets stuck on the adhesive, and it's annoying to get it back. Alright, moment of truth, taking off the screen protector, taking off the right side of the screen protector and getting it in there. Trying to hold this without putting a thumb on the other side. Ugh. So laying the metal that's on the bottom in the little grooves where the screws go and letting it drop. I'm not pushing it down yet because I want to get these little tiny screw holes exactly where they're supposed to be. And I think actually I just was able to drop it in there just perfectly, and it don't need to adjust at all. Sometimes these right here are misaligned and I have to push it over, and if I had put any pressure right here, you can't slide this left and right at all. Okay, now putting some pressure on the adhesive, and if you noticed, I reused the adhesive that was underneath there. This layer right here, only not even a pound of pressure for this glass to stay in place. Reapplying adhesive underneath. I've never done it in the past. I've never needed to. I don't have returns. I don't have people where their screens are just falling apart because I didn't reapply the adhesive. It stays put. Where I do reapply the adhesive is this area on the bezel. I do remove the old adhesive. I know people actually reapply this adhesive on top of the old adhesive. Don't do that. Please don't do that. It adds layer to it where this bezel just sits a little bit higher and there's less of that rubber to hit right here. You can tell the difference. I can tell the difference. Maybe customers can't tell the difference, but it looks horrible. Take off the old adhesive, put new adhesive on that. Alright, so this is actually where people have a huge amount of trouble trying to put these cables together. Oh, actually, one moment before I skip ahead, let me put some screws on the bottom of this so it doesn't move. That's a tiny, tiny screw that just hit the floor. Echolocation ears. Definitely nice having a hardwood floor. Why is this not being magnetized? Magnetized! Damn you, screw. This screw really does not want to be magnetized. Come on. Get with the program. Alright, screws in. This glass not coming out. Or at least not easily. Alright, so these connectors. So many times I've seen people either rip these connectors, put them in wrong, do this complete repair, put the bezel in there, and then this cable, the backlight's not even plugged in all the way, or plugged in at all. It's reversed. It's just so many ways they do this part wrong, and I don't understand why. It's hard, but it's not that hard. You figure it out eventually, and then you just do that over and over again. Okay, so there's definitely two ways to bend this little flap. So that's one way, and then you can bend it the other way, where this flex cable is kind of on the outside. That is the way this screen comes when I open it fresh, without anybody messing it up. I was trying to lay it flat, but the cable was in the way. Okay, so this is the way it comes. That flex cable out like that. This is all flat. That's not the way I put it back in there. I flip it the other way, and I just realized actually flipping that back and forth, don't do that. These flex cables do flex, but if you go back and forth like any other wire, copper wire, you will break something, and these wires are super thin, so I really shouldn't show you that any more times. So I have that where that flex is underneath. Alright, so that's, yeah, you saw that. It's flat. I'm actually going to bend it over one more time, and that's how I'm actually going to connect that cable, and then fold it over there. And if anybody's wondering, no, it did not dent the computer. Very light drop. Alright, all locked in there. Alright, so the trick of this LVDS connector, sitting right down there, actually going to bend it up just a little bit and push it up. So I'm just trying to flex the cables. LVDS is kind of a flat cable that's made up of many other little tiny cables. So I'm trying to just push it up so it bends up. And then when I flip over this board, I want to get to a point where I can push this board into the connector. So up and in. And yeah, just kind of another trick. So instead of kind of pushing the cable in, I just push that connector into the LVDS, which after it's actually connected it in, get the little latch, flip the little latch over. There. I don't know. I've seen people mess with that and just spend hours just trying to connect those cables. It's not that hard if you use this tactic, or actually there's another way to do it also that people have gotten used to, and I don't know. I think it's harder, but alright, so all the connectors are connected. Final two screws for that board. And before I put that bezel on, I'm going to turn it on and see if we get a working screen. Alright. And we do. And we actually do get a defect. I don't know if you can see from this angle. there is a defect right there. And there's a defect right here. So that defect right here, that's probably the brightest one. This defect over here, I know I caused. You can't see that anymore at all. And even when you have one light, you can barely see it. Let me turn this off really quick, because I don't know if there's any personal details there. Alright, I'm going to turn it on one more time. Alright, so this is Startup Manager. So I'm pretty sure from that distance you can't even see that defect. You can only see it when you angle it certain ways. But this defect you can see. And what's weird about this defect, that one I'm quite positive I did not cause. That defect was caused when he broke it. Basically, that's the exact point of the LCD that whatever object basically broke the glass pushed into the polarizer in the back, the diffuser, and probably just touched it. There's probably not even a break, but in this repair, there's a plastic layer that we saw that was white, and then there's a couple other layers of that plastic, and there's actually even a harder plastic that when you break that harder plastic, light bleeds through, and it looks like a lightning bolt. So if you have a hard plastic layer that's white and back in there, well, basically you can't replace that. You can't go buy that, basically. And actually, even people actually do sell it. It's horrible. Don't buy that polarizer. Basically, when they remove it, it's obviously used at that point. It's dirty, it's dusty. It's just not worth it to buy it, because when you put it and install it into it, you get to see all the defects and blotches of this used polarizer. But yeah, so this defect and other larger defects is something the customer, it's a bad conversation. You have to say, okay, well, your LCD's replaced. This LCD's brand new. All the little pixels are brand new. But behind the LCD, you have a defect that's going to stay there because I don't replace that. Which, so far, I haven't had any customers just be completely angry that there's a big old line on there. Because I did my job. I replaced the LCD. But I do have ways of minimizing that. Sometimes when I take this glass off, I can see a defect of that broken plastic layer that I speak about. Sometimes I actually do reuse some polarizers and double up on it. It basically diffuses the light more and still keeps the same brightness. That's about the only thing that I've ever tried to minimize that. But usually I am able to give them a call and saying, hey, you have an extra defect here that's probably going to stay, that's not going to change. And they're usually satisfied and saying, okay, well, I have to live with it. I broke it. So we're done. Actually, one final test. Webcam, which I'm going to do off camera. Well, yeah, this video's been long enough. Last part, bezel. Oh, and actually I've done this before. There's one more plastic layer there. There is a screen protector. Take off that screen protector. There we go, screen protector. I'll take that off in a second. But yeah, that's pretty much the video. Checking webcam, that's the kind of final test. I want to make sure that I didn't basically break it with that heat, which hopefully I didn't. Well, even if I did, I can replace it. Other than that, that is a MacBook Air LCD only repair, which I think without talking to you and talking to myself, probably would have done about half the time. Broken parts. This is Zen Computers. Welcome to look me up. I'm in Santa Clara, actually. San Jose area, Bay Area, and we do Mac repair.